This week's episode of Still Untitled is brought to you by HP Workstations. With prices starting at $1,465, HP Workstations enable you to innovate without boundaries, expanding as your workflow grows. Plus, you get free shipping, returns, and customer support 24/7, 365 days of the year. And right now, you can get an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Get 15% off HP Workstations with Intel Core i5 processors when you go to hp.com/untitled and enter code UNTITLED at checkout. That's hp.com/untitled. Enter code UNTITLED to get 15% off select HP Workstations. Whether you have a small business that's looking to grow or you are established and ready to take the next step, HP Workstations with Intel Core i5 processors are for you. Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Norm.
I'm Adam.
I'm Danica.
And we're Comic-Con.
We're at Comic-Con!
And our voices sound like this.
Mine, every year we do this podcast on the Saturday morning, and I sound like I somehow am a Canadian goose that learned to speak.
Yeah. Chain smokers, but that's, I think, a sign of a good Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah, no, it was great. This has been a curiously busy one, and I know they're always busy, but this one has felt particularly packed, and maybe it's because of the wide variety of stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But last night was an awesome dance party.
Yeah.
We know you like your dance parties. We went to Sci-Fi's nerd party. With
Nerd HQ and Sci-Fi together.
Yes.
At the Children's Museum.
Zachary Levi.
And
fantastic venue.
Fantastic venue. We walked in, the DJ was playing "Shut Up, Come Dance With Me," and we were all like, "Ah!" and we jumped dancing.
Okay.
Dancing, totally
Invitation.
dancing. Yeah. And then this band, the Plasmatics. Spasmatics, sorry. The Spasmatics did an amazing, that was over an hour.
They were a cover band, but
Holy
it was
cow.
like the best take on the Revenge of the Nerds band at the end. In terms of and they had so much energy.
Their covers were fantastic. They were tight as a drum. They saved the best for the second to last, which seemed to be their closing song. They did Prince. Mm-hmm. When Doves Cry, right?
No. Was it Let's Go Crazy?
Let's Go Crazy. That's it. They did Let's Go Crazy, and the guitarist nailed the guitar solo at the end. And thing two, my son and his girlfriend who were with us, thing two is watching him play, and he's like, wow! He literally put his hand on top of his head. He's like, I can't believe he's nailing that.
Yeah, it's endless fun.
So that was the end of the set.
Yes, and then
they went off stage.
They went off stage, and they came back for an encore.
What was the mashup?
Well, so we were sitting there, and we were like, what are they going to top Let's Go Crazy with? Because we were all soaked all the way through, and we're disgusting, and we want something else. But of course, what could they possibly follow?
Because that was the perfect end.
Yeah, it was.
Perfect, the right.
And true, I was like, I think I suggested something they could have sung. I was like, they could choose something nostalgic but awesome like Aerosmith and start to mess with that. No, they made a left-hand turn into such awesome territory of goodwill and love.
Well, I'm trying to remember what it was mashed up with, but it started off with... Did it start off there? They did. It was this dramatic start off of A Whole New World.
It was a whole new world.
From Aladdin.
Yes, with all of y'all singing along.
Of course.
Through the whole thing. It was so awesome.
With dramatic interpretation,
Exactly.
which that whole scene called for.
I think I recorded some of that.
I hope it turned out. It was a nice moment.
Actually, I think I have the turn. I think I can tell you
what it's mashed up with.
Yeah, what it was mashed up because they started out with the Aladdin song for a minute and a half.
Yeah, it was the whole first chorus.
Let's see here.
Oh my goodness. We're watching a video of a party we went to yesterday.
Hold on. We just have to answer the question of what they mashed up Aladdin with.
Oh my god. Oh, Gunther. Ryan. This is great. Oh, it's Sweet Child of Mine, which did bring the house down. That was a Fantastic way to end.
That was really catch you unexpected with a
Yes.
song from your childhood that you really loved, and then bang! And Danica had me doing a dance all in sequence
Well,
for.
there's a dance. It's the Axl Rose dance
Yes,
called the Philly
no.
Dog from the '60s.
I was working it with you. I was there. I was there.
And thing two was also getting down. It was a whole line.
Yeah, that was super crazy
Meanwhile,
fun.
all this is happening while we're waiting for the photo booth, which was its own magical experience.
Sci-Fi had the Sci-Fi Nerd HQ party had a bullet time photo booth. I had not seen that.
It was an array of cameras, DSLRs, all set up, not to capture a animation, but it was a single moment.
A single
right?
moment, but so what they had was, I think it was a dozen DSLR cameras set up in a line that was about 5 feet wide, and you'd get in a pose, and they'd take a shot with all of them and make a GIF out of it in which the camera seemed to be panning,
back and forth,
panning like this in front of you.
Yeah.
If you don't know what bullet time is, you should go to Google and look up you should go to Wiki and look up bullet time, because this is a technique developed by a couple of special effects geniuses for John Gaeta during the first Matrix film. And this is the shot where Trinity jumps up, and as the camera pans around her, she's floated in midair before she kicks that cop in the teeth.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a absolutely groundbreaking technique in 1999.
Seven?
Yeah. 8 or 9. 9. Matrix was 9, but I guess they filmed
Was
in
it
8.
really?
Yeah.
And they
I had
originally
already
wanted
been working
to.
at Industrial Light and Magic when it came out, and I started in '98.
So,
I remember because I took Grant and Mahara on a date because we were like Matrix buds, and we went to see it for our third time each.
easier than putting a rocket on a camera, which is like how their analogy. We wanted to get this moment in time. We're gonna put a camera on a rocket, and instead it's just an array of cameras.
I'll tell you something really funny about the bullet time rig is I ended up befriending and knowing the guys that actually hand built that rig for that film, and there was so much groundbreaking stuff in that movie. But one of the things that they did not expect in the bullet time rig, so they bought off the shelf DSLRs, 1999 DSLRs, and they were shooting on film. It wasn't digital. Because it's
So it's
99,
SLRs,
they don't
yeah.
have the megapixels.
It's not even a DSLR. It's an SLR.
Yes, you're right. It is an SLR. I'm an idiot. So they're shooting this on SLRs. The biggest problem they had when they took the frames into post-processing was that they found the cameras had a manufacturing variance of plus or minus almost a full stop.
Really? For exposure? Wow. So they had to correct
They had to
every
correct. So
frame.
with that Trinity shot, there's something like 125 cameras, and they had to spend tons and tons of time just making those images all match each other.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And how far we've come almost 2 decades later with people off-the-shelf cameras. You can sync them all up with desktop software. People are building these photogrammetry rigs using hundreds of cameras now.
Yeah.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
That was cool. Yeah.
And then I guess you pointed at your watch. It was about it was about 1:15 when you pointed to your watch, and I went and grabbed Thing 2 and his girlfriend, and we all walked back to the hotel.
Yeah.
I figured you guys left soon after.
Oh yeah. 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
I got my
minutes.
dancing in. So Zachary Levi. Sorry, right? Is it
Yes.
pronounced that way.
I think so.
Zach always throws the dance party. That is going to be the dance party you want to be going to. It's really fun.
He's an excellent host.
Yes. No, he really is.
Like it's a little bullying, but in a very sweet way.
He wants to dance, and he doesn't want to fuck around at all. He just so like that. He has always been throwing the party at Con for his friends so that they can have a place to go dancing when all the other parties were burned.
Yeah.
And it's always been the best dance party. Like I have had so much fun. I have multiple times been dancing and had people tell me, "Oh, last night you were dancing in front of you were dancing right next to Doctor Who," and I was like, "Oh, cool! I thought that young English gentleman seemed like a nice guy." And last night was no exception.
No, it was Doctor Who companion, and the cast of Arrow and The Expanse and Iron Fist, and they were all just hanging out.
Yeah, worlds are colliding. A very sweet guy, a professional football player for the Atlanta Falcons, if I remember correctly, came up to me, and he was this giant professional athlete, man mountain, and he was like, I'm a professional athlete, but I am such a science fanboy, and I love your show, man. And he like grabbed my hand in his giant hand, and we talked for a bit. He was super sweet, super awesome. He's been playing for the NFL for 11 seasons.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, no, this was hardcore.
Get out
and
of there
I was
while you
standing
can.
with Tomo from The Expanse and a bunch of his friends, and it was like I was with the Ents. They're all like 6'4" and handsome professionally. I was like, I'm gonna have to go, you guys. I just have to go.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
I got
stand
something to do. Something around shorter people.
The party is top of mind, but it's been quite a week also at
Yes.
Comic-Con. You had a panel before the party with
Yes.
some special guests. I thought it was a really great panel. We'll have the video, of course, on the site soon enough. But yeah, great audience questions.
The
Yeah.
audience questions were phenomenal. So, it's always like an interesting conversation with the audience when I do my panel at Comic-Con. Yesterday, I brought two friends, Aaron Douglas, who played Chief on Battlestar Galactica, and Wes Chatham, who plays Amos on
The
Expanse. And we didn't even get to this. But Wes Chatham plays. I love the whole. Sorry. I love the whole cast of The Expanse. They are awesome. They are family like all of the people I know from Battlestar Galactica. They are like a deeply connected television show family. But when Wes Chatham auditioned for the part of Amos, he didn't know who he was reading for, but he had read the books, and his favorite character was Amos. So he got to play a character he had already identified with in books he loved before he auditioned for the show based on them.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I know!
Yeah.
Especially because he's such a sweetheart. Like the idea that he would have that kind of satisfaction unexpectedly, that joy. That's great.
You feel this like, yeah, he's lovely. And so we talked a little bit, we talked briefly, the three of us, because I was asking them about how costume informs character, and they talked, oh, totally, you put on that spacesuit, you put on that gear, and it's
The
totally
shoes, you put
intense.
on the
Yeah,
boots.
Aaron Douglas's comment about the shoes, the shoes that he had in his
Right.
closet for 8 years or whatever, he pulls them out and he's right back in that same character.
Yeah.
Totally.
And there were some characters also in line. The guy who asked, I think was it the last question?
The Oogie Boogie.
Oogie Boogie.
He was dressed as a full-size Oogie Boogie, and it was an amazing, amazing costume.
And when the panel started, so the panel's a packed room. There were more people outside waiting to get into the panel than in the panel. Oogie Boogie was sitting in the back, and my eyes went immediately to him because
Yeah.
the canvas that he had picked for the sack and
It was
the
perfect.
forms
He
was
had
perfect.
the little weird arms that Oogie
and
Boogie
the
has.
large stitching.
The proportions were perfect.
And it turned out that he had built that inspired by both the Revenant Bear costume
No,
you
he was
made,
inspired by the Revenant
Yeah.
Bear
and
costume.
then the Totoro.
The Totoro,
And
and
then
he was like,
felt-
"Oh, that's so much easier to build it that way."
And you could see the concentric rings inside his Oogie Boogie, and what a great idea!
How it was so delightful to find out that he was inspired and guided by some of our stuff we put up on the
Yeah.
site. That's great.
I also like that he felt screwed over, that you hadn't figured that stuff out for the bears first.
The questions from the audience were some of the best questions we've ever had, and it's not because they were like super intriguing question. It was just like it was all geared towards cosplay and making stuff. I think there was 2 Mythbuster questions.
Yep.
Not that I don't mind Mythbuster questions, but it's interesting to see what people are wanting to talk about, and it gives you some perspective on what they're finding interesting. And there's so much saturation of. I mean, you guys are watching Tested right now. But each time I hear out on the street someone's watching, oh, I'm watching all the stuff you do on Tested, which I heard like 1,000 times yesterday. It's so gratifying.
And then the other shout I want to give is to the guy who wore the Mandalorian armor
Yes.
made out of steel
Made out of steel, he scavenged.
from a file cabinet.
Brilliant.
And
Yeah.
I had to run down and go touch it because he had cut up with it must have been a metal bladed jigsaw. It cut up the side panels of a file cabinet and hand hammered these Mandalorian panels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
was
and they're all
spectacular.
Velcroed to his armor, so he's like, pull one off, and I tore one off, put it back on. It was great.
Yeah. Armor, a good theme for not only the panel, but also the big Incognito you had this year.
Oh, right. We haven't talked about that officially
We haven't.
under the aegis of the site.
Yeah, the video's up on the site now, but it can be revealed that your big Incognito walk this year was a fulfillment of a lifelong dream.
I was Arthur from John Boorman's 1981 film Excalibur. And we all went to Cornwall, England. We stayed in St. Ives and drove over to Terry's shop every morning for a week. Terry is, of course, you don't know this, but Terry English, master armorer. He's made armor for a bazillion movies, from the Harry Potter films and Excalibur most famously for me. And Terry led us into a shop and we filmed a whole bunch of videos about how to make armor, how Terry makes armor, the history of his creation. And then together he let me assist him in making my all-time dream suit of armor.
It was the learning process. Anyone who's watched the video of you with Peter Lyon at Weta being almost an apprentice for a day to make a sword, this was that over the span of 10 days almost. And the last time actually Danica, the most recent time Danica was on the podcast, when we couldn't say where we were.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
That's where we were. In St. Ives.
We were in the south of England, spending over a week there to document this apprenticeship.
It was really, really crazy fun.
And we were podcasting from a castle.
Right, the castle. What was that castle?
Tregenna.
Tregenna. Thank you.
Then we have a lot of stories from that. This is not the podcast stuff about that, but just to say that you guys can look forward to, Tested members can look forward to a whole series of this armor build. And the armor turned out so wonderfully.
The armor is more beautiful than the original armor. The original Nigel Terry worn suit of King Arthur armor, and there's probably more than one because he's the main character. But the original armor was up for auction recently, and it's like my dream platonic ideal of armor. And Terry's amazing skill is that he's just the greatest armor designer, and I think his line and the way he thinks about curve and the way the metal moves on the body. There are aspects to the suit he built that I think are way more beautiful even than his original. He really brought it.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah, very proud. And you had that on stage at the panel. That was just one of your incognitos. The day before that,
I was a Chewbacca, which I did at Silicon Valley Comic Con earlier this year. The wrinkle was we were two Chewbaccas. And the second Chewbacca was Judge John Hodgman.
in his very first time doing cosplay.
At the mothership. He's never been to San Diego, I thought.
No, he has not.
Yeah.
He has
I
not.
know.
And
I
he has
realized.
been. I know, because it seems like he's been there because the Woodstock, the backstage at Woodstock, which is a regular part of our Comic-Con Thursday night, that scene is all of our mutual friends. It's so many people we both know and love, and the same thing last night, the same thing Thursday night, but John was there. John did a set at Woodstock, a beautiful set where he finished by singing a Modern Lovers song on the ukulele. It was super amazing.
Beautiful.
And just lovely. He's been developing a one-man show and book, and they're kind of a similar thing. And the book is coming out soon called Vacation Land. And he did kind of a piece from Vacation Land talking about the first time he learned that he owned a septic tank and how those worked in his house in Western Massachusetts. That was awesome. So yeah, Hodgman put on the raccoon makeup, and he and I walked the floor as Wookiees. And people were like, minds blown. They were like, Wookiee couple.
Why would they both have bandoliers? I guess that's just the garb they wear. Yeah.
Someone was like, there's not two Wookiees, and then no one seemed to care.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It's more like the people, it meant that they could take photos between you two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and children were just like hugging us. It's like Wookiees elicit like almost Totoro levels of love.
Mm-hmm. And we documented it in the video, which you guys will see soon, but the costume, the Wookiee costume that John wore was actually fabricated by a new friend of ours.
Sean Calhoun and Anovos are about to release a licensed Chewbacca costume. And as I said in the panel yesterday, it's really hard to get a Chewbacca face right. It's really easy to make Chewbacca's like weird cousin Chewbacca, but it's really hard to get the Chewbacca attitude right, and they so totally did. The fur on the suit, on the bodysuit, has been hand matched in the most meticulous way to the original ILM hair samples of Chewbacca from Empire Strikes Back and from Jedi, and it's masterpiece. It's amazing, and it's built just like mine. The hair is latch hooked onto netting, so it is a relatively cool costume, even though you sweat.
Yeah.
Husband loved cosplaying. It was his first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys started taking it all off, I was asking, do you just like hate Adam and nerds and everything nerd like now? And he was just like, no, we're bonded now for life, like forged in sweat. And
He pulled off the mask like this in the car, and I think Gunter was shooting. Yeah, and we got this. He pulled it off. I was like, how's that? He's like, that was great.
with those raccoon eyes, it was such a scene.
The best.
It was amazing.
And we're doing one more cosplay to this morning, right after this podcast.
Yes. Yeah.
3 complex. This one we'll reveal.
In the video, yes. We'll talk about it just yet. Crossing fingers. Don't want to jinx anything.
No.
But it's been exciting. And then we get to go home and actually read about Comic-Con.
Right, and read about, what got revealed? What happened?
What happened at Comic-Con?
It's a constant melee.
Yeah, we're kind of in our own bubble of doing the things, doing the panels you're doing, seeing the things we do. I did see some cool stuff. Do you have a chance to walk the floor a little bit?
No, I have not yet had a chance to walk the floor. That's where this may come in. My Rocketeer helmet has, in the past, given me a casual walk-around kind of ability. So I may do that if I have the time today, but I'm not sure I actually have the time today.
Oh no, we gotta find you at least 45 minutes or something.
Yeah, I think we'll see.
I mean, the Weta booth, which you were able to stop by when you were in the suit of armor, that's amazing. It's so cool.
Did you see it?
Which?
The suit is on display right there at the
Ghost in the
booth.
Shell suit.
The Ghost
The
the Thermoptic suit.
Oh, no, I didn't. I couldn't quite see very clearly.
We were reunited. It was so sweet. Oh, it was wonderful to see it again.
Did you get to see the leather Wonder Woman suit at UD Replicas?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I was wondering what that retail is.
We can
We'll
find that out for you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And one of the things about UD Replicas is everything's made out of leather. So
That's their
everything
license.
it's not
Yeah.
urethane, they're not movie props. They're making motorcycle armor, and it's real, and like it's made for humans, not
What I enjoyed
for
about
superheroes.
it is when you're looking at it and the form is beautiful, being able to see the stitching. It's not trying to be metal.
Right.
It is definitely leather.
Right.
And the stitching is so beautiful and the detail work is so nice. Like
It's a corset, basically.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
What else was that on the floor? So yeah.
Hold on. Let's not go away from Wonder Woman. Let's go back to Wonder Woman.
Go.
So they had all of the. I always say Suicide Squad instead of Justice League for some reason. I have no idea. Justice League. They had all of the costumes on display.
Oh, they did.
At the DC
So,
booth. Yep.
They had the new updated Wonder Woman armor that we saw like in the plastic storage bin in FBFX when we were there at the end of the trip.
So cool.
It looks
I have to get
spectacular.
on the floor. I gotta go
Yeah.
see
Yeah. They have a full Batmobile from Justice League that's on the
Yeah.
floor. I mean, the Weta stuff, they had a full Chappie, of course. Some armor they pulled out from archives, Sauron's armor.
Sauron's armor was lovely.
Yes. That was originally hammered out of steel, too. Yeah, when they did that almost 20 years ago.
I know they're going to start doing vinyl toys. It's so smart. It makes so much sense.
Yes.
Prop store, of course, was there.
Prop store was there with some full-size, full costumes.
Yeah, so I guess they're doing a big auction in September, and they have, RoboCop. They have a Julie Newmar Catwoman,
Which is
a Val Kilmer Batman.
extraordinary.
Wow.
Extraordinary.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And I figured out that the legs, I can put my arms in the legs. But it is so beautiful. It's so beautiful.
That is a thing that happens here at Comic-Con is you see some people you see on television, you're like, oh my god, they are so skinny.
Yes. and short.
Well, so, yes, I've seen some people be short, but, like the cast of The Expanse is not a short cast.
No,
not by
they're
any means.
beefy,
They're all
like-
tall. Let's see. What else, Norm?
Oh my god.
There were some neon Chewbaccas moving around the con yesterday.
There's a hot
trio.
pink.
Yes.
Hot pink
there was a
Chewbacca?
super hot pink Chewbacca. That was different than a trio of 3 female neon
That looked
Chewbaccas.
like cotton candy.
Uh-huh.
The colors
didn't
were
see
cotton
them.
candy. It was, what was it, pink, green, and purple?
Yes, David Silverman took some pictures and showed them to me. He was like, these guys were stopping the clock wherever they were, which is totally incredible. And that pink Chewbacca, the hot pink one,
Hot pink.
was like
with a really great Akbar companion that was also
Yes,
that was
hot
also
pink.
yes,
hot
the
pink.
Akbar
And
that
the
was like
Akbar-
a caricature of Akbar.
Exactly, it was like exaggerated, very wore the foam on its sleeve, on its face, but like great, like the liver spots on Akbar, but just like foam pads.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cosplay and the people, everyone walking around as superheroes, being kind of like drinking cokes and like complaining and moving straps and stuff. It's always the best.
Yeah, I have definitely some my eyes on some of the toys on the floor that I want to pick up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got to see the 172 scale Millennium Falcon that Bandai is releasing,
Yes,
and that's
that's
on
the one
floor.
that's
it's 172,
so it's
a
like
little
26,
smaller.
28 inches or
A
something.
little, it's still a little smaller than that.
All right.
Like it's like yay, a little maybe 14 inches or so, 14, 15, 16 inches, but
I cannot wait to get my hands on that.
crazy amount of detail.
Yeah. I spent some time with John Eblin, who's a master model maker. He did that beautiful model of the Firefly.
Yeah, so he works at Quantum Mechanics.
Yes.
He runs their shop in Florida, the model making shop.
John and I were colleagues at Industrial Light and Magic and have been friends ever since. And he does the most incredible work.
Did
he
you
did
hear
the
their
Cutaway
sad
Millennium
story?
Falcon last year.
Did you hear their sob story this year? The terrible thing that happened?
No.
So every year, Quantum Mechanics reveals a great miniature, right, from their effect shop.
Yeah.
They've done the Cutaway Millennium Falcon. They've done massive, beautiful replicas of starships from the Star Trek movies that weren't never made as ships because they were all CG models.
Yeah.
And this year, their big display was going to be a 6-scale Enterprise D bridge.
I did hear about this. So a 6th scale Enterprise D bridge. That means it fits 12-inch figures.
which they made.
Which they made, and it was 4 by 5 feet. John Eblin told me about this.
And it got lost in shipping. To
Half of
Comic-Con.
it got lost in shipping.
That's unacceptable. That's
Right?
what a heartbreaker.
That is crushing.
Whatever they spent.
Yeah, it would
Most
never
of
be.
what they spent was on that model, right? And there,
Yeah.
it's somewhere in the ether.
Fell off the back of a truck. That is so hard to believe. Yeah,
I'm terrified every time I ship something.
I know. Yeah.
He and I were talking about that, and I was like, wow, I've thought about, if I had to ship the Blade Runner gun, I'm like, I think I might pay someone to hand carry
To
that
be a
or
courier?
drive it.
You gotta-
Or no, you know what you do? I've considered hiring an art mover,
Right.
right? A chain of evidence all the way from where I am to where it's going.
Because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's
They must
it's
have
a
had it
sculpture.
insured.
Yeah, I'm sure, but still,
Still,
But
Yeah.
still,
you
it's not
can't
the
replace.
reveal.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if they're going
didn't
to build
have it-
again, they got to build another one again.
Crazy.
Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner experience. Did you guys get to go to
haven't.
it?
We,
I haven't.
I mean, not yet. Are we gonna have a chance?
I hope so. Yeah.
It's really worth doing.
It's a giant tent.
It's a giant tent. It's behind the Children's Museum, and it's really, really awesome. There's a VR experience that's very cool and
Okay.
worked really well on me, even though I have a weak VR stomach.
Okay.
And then there are a whole bunch of... So they recreated the world of Blade Runner, so you feel like you're in slushy kind of snow post... Yeah, and so what they did was they took piles of rock salt and wet them out, so it's like
Yeah.
it looks like snow and it feels like snow and crunchy like winter streets under your feet.
Oh shoot! Oh yeah. Okay.
It's really good.
I think I know someone working in VR there that probably get me.
And then there are some actual props on display, including a pistol that I had not seen before in any of the research that I've done. It was there's the Blade Runner blaster that is well known and that a bunch of people have seen, but you see on the table in that famous shot of Ryan Gosling, Ridley Scott, Harrison Ford, and Denis Villeneuve. But then there's this thing with the two barrels that harkens deeply to the original blaster.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's kind of an over-under large Derringer kind of thing.
Right.
We'll post this photo.
Yeah. That's
And
cool.
I look at that, I'm like, that's what I gotta make. Look at that. That's a nice,
If
nice piece.
You would do that, make like the same process that you use for your baby.
I have.
Like,
Well, if this is made from some real gun parts, then yes. But I don't know anything
if
just
you
yet.
knew that it would take as long to make that as it took to make.
I can't tell you at the beginning of a project how obsessed I might end up. I will. There was also a really cool. There was a Ryan Gosling's jacket that you can see in the trailer was there.
Yeah, that big collar
that beautiful
jacket.
jacket with the fur on the inside, and then there was this really cool, like basically goosed up military radio, clearly being used as a telephone, and that's a standard radio. I bought a blank version of this yesterday on
nice.
eBay.
So what's the size of that? It looks like a Swatch phone.
It's about this big.
Okay,
Wow.
so
Yeah,
it's like
so it's
a
one of those
giant
like
Swatch
send
phone.
Yeah.
immediate air help.
The giant antenna. And the
Exactly. So I'm totally gonna make that.
Oh my god.
That's the Blade Runner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I feel like everything I've been seeing, everything that I know about the Blade Runner shoot and about the sets and the art direction and everything that I've thus heard from inside, I'm really, really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
I know.
great.
I know. I know.
And yeah, so Blade Runner's there. And it's like you don't even need a Comic-Con badge for a lot of this stuff because it's just all just surrounding the convention. Like they had the Star Trek Discovery had all their costumes and props right in the gas lamp district. You just walk into a pop-up.
Well, also, by the way, at the Blade Runner exhibit, I met both the author of Future Noir, that famous big tome about all things Blade Runner, and I met the guy who built the original Rocketeer helmets. He was just standing there, and he's like, "Oh, Adam Savage, I'm a big fan. I built the original Rocketeer helmets." I was like, "What?"
He said exactly the right thing.
Yeah.
he knew a way to a girl's heart.
That's amazing.
Have you sourced the gray T-shirt yet
What's that?
for Harrison Ford in the new Blade Runner?
I can put on a T-shirt, but I can't wear it like Harrison can. Even at 75, he is a damn virile, amazing man.
Yes, indeed.
So, before we go,
Yeah.
we should talk a little bit about Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't plan for not a full spoiler cast, but like a couple of let's say recommendations. We all three of us saw
War
recently
for Planet of the
War
Apes.
for Planet of the Apes.
And it's Matt Reeves.
It is Matt Reeves who's directing the new Batman film. He also directed Cloverfield. It's a friend of J.J. Abrams. That's cool. And he did the last movie, Dawn of the Planet
Dawn
of the
of
Apes.
Planet of the Apes. So the Planet of the Apes movie are a funny trilogy to me because they're all really solid movies, but they're not like, oh, they're amazing. For some reason, they exist in this space in my head that isn't like, oh, you gotta go see it, but more like, oh yeah, solidly great movie.
A movie that I didn't need to
Maybe
exist.
yeah, sure.
But when I watched it, thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, and the first one, it's anchored by Andy Serkis's performance as Caesar becomes self-aware. The second film, much more about the apes. I think the apes are like 65% of the screen time, and you don't care. And the performances, again, Judy Greer, Andy Serkis, a host of really great actors only playing apes, not appearing as themselves in the movie at all. This movie... It's official. We have left the uncanny valley.
At least for these animals. There are scenes, and without going into the plot details, there are scenes and close-ups of the faces of Andy Serkis and Maurice, the orangutan, and the emotion that you get out of them. Just a camera held onto a face for 10 seconds is
Totally,
unbelievable.
you see the little hair and the sweat and the bouquet, and there's nothing wrong with these shots. There's nothing I could spot that's not, this is a real entity being in front of me. Steve Zahn has an incredible turn in the Planet of the Apes movie as one of the apes, and it's an amazing performance. It really is incredible. And I met one of the other actors who played Winter, the white ape.
There's an albino ape in the film.
And super intense character. And the actor, I was like looking, he came to a little gathering I had in the room a couple nights ago with Aaron Douglas from BSG, and you could see Winter on his face.
Yeah.
You could, oh. And then he said, it's not, he said performance-wise, it's anchored by Andy, and it's a really a craftsman atmosphere. You know, they're really working to craft these excellent performances. And he said, it's not like they're painting over my face. It's just a thin film of CG. It's like every nuance makes it onto the camera, every nuance of performance. And you've seen the pictures of the actors with the black dots tracking their skin movement. This is the movie in which it feels like it's been perfected.
Yeah, the subtlety in those performances that are so present. It really is something special.
And that's not necessarily a credit to, it is a credit to the technology partly, but the technology can be used they could have used the same technology, and if an animation director or a CG director said, performance was great, but let's do it this way,
Right.
it could have ended differently. So it's a credit to the team, the collaboration, that they trusted the performances,
Yes.
and then allowed the animators to use them honestly. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, they tweak it, of course, and it is really the animators and the performance artists and the actors collaborating, even though they may never meet.
I
Yeah.
have heard that Steve Zahn said it was one of the most physically taxing roles he's ever played.
The physique of an ape, they built these crutch systems so you can extend your arms and walk on the ground because they're doing all the motions.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But before I even went to see it, Danica, you had told me, you were like, you got to see this, and it was largely also because of the score.
The score to this film is so special. It is. This is a much quieter movie. Like it breathes a lot. The way that the pacing goes, the general feel of it, and it's really beautiful. But Michael Giacchino's score is so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you notice it in ways like it's not like this film needs that score, and the fact that it has this very special piece is something that just, I don't know, you start going through it and you realize how subtle it is and how beautiful and like semi-militant and like this gorgeous like staccato stuff is happening, and then this muted marimba and these earworm, the da 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 da. Amazing.
Yeah.
But it's such an important, it is a good movie no matter what, but it would not be what it is without this beautiful score that Giacchino has done.
I totally agree. You had told me to look out for it, and I was watching, and it was delightful, and it felt almost like an older Hollywood movie in that kind of really lovely way in which the score worked with the action
And the
in a memorable
cinematography,
way.
yeah. I think Matt Reeves said they wanted to make it look like a Western almost. They shot 65 mil, and they're like these. The one shot in particular when they're riding on horseback along the water, like at sunset.
Yeah.
It's like it's majestic.
Well, and we just put up a piece, but you got to visit the set in Vancouver.
Yes. And that was I don't want to give away too much of the plot, but it was a human set, right? And and it was massive, like acres of land, all built up, everything fake, right? From the snow to the barrack buildings to the collapsed trees, railroad tracks,
Everything.
all built up.
And all this is they're only filming with people on there.
Yep. And the apes
And the actors dressed as apes. And the actors not dressed as apes.
In
The
the middle of
actors
the night, wearing very thin. They have to wear very thin clothes because if they have any type of the performance capture, if they have any type of layering, you lose movement.
Wow. So they must have been freezing.
They're freezing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow. It's an amazing film. It blew me away. Even though I'll admit I thought some of the plot points were a bit clunky. Not even clunky. I just thought there was the middle was weirdly shaped as a narrative. It doesn't matter. I was so moved and I'm so involved, and Caesar's an amazing character, and Maurice. Don't you just want Maurice like for counsel?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, you were talking about what it is to trust your actors. When I was talking to Michael about it, because I had to, at Woodstock, I had to gush a little bit at least about it, because it was such a nice experience.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to him about it, he was saying that he has a really good relationship with Matt Reeves. And so that creative partnership and that trust obviously facilitates something that is truly special.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's just one of the amazing movies, I think. It's out this summer. Like, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes and like, oh, what movie should I watch? Well, there are 8 movies in the past 2 months that have 90% or higher on Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't know if the reviews are skewing higher, but I mean, like we just did this piece on some prop store stuff from Spectral, a Netflix film that has over 80% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, I didn't even hear about this movie. 80%, and it's got all this great military hardware built by Weta. We gotta watch that.
Right, exactly. It's like, there's no way. I think our reviewers supposed to be jaded, right? But if the movies are good.
Spider-Man Homecoming,
Dunkirk,
which I haven't seen yet. Dunkirk.
I want to watch that now.
Yeah, Dunkirk. And we definitely need to see it in the theater.
Yeah.
I want the big IMAX experience.
You want the seats vibrating with the sound.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
It's time to gird our loins for one more full day at Comic-Con.
Oh, it's gonna be over before we know it, and we're gonna miss it. And we have over a dozen videos coming out soon on the site. Some of them should already be on the site right now, but it's keep an eye out for that, and let's go save our voices and,
All right.
and hit the floor.
Here we go. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Once again, we want to thank the sponsor of this week's episode of Still Untitled, and that's HP. With prices starting at $1,465, HP workstations enable you to innovate without boundaries, expanding as your workflow grows. Plus, you get free shipping, returns, and customer support 24/7, 365 days of the year. And right now, you can get an exclusive offer just for our listeners. Get 15% off select HP workstations with Intel Core i5 processors when you go to hp.com/untitled and enter code UNTITLED at checkout. That's hp.com/untitled. Enter in code UNTITLED to get 15% off select HP workstations. The special discount is valid through July 31st. Whether you have a small business that's looking to grow or you're established and ready to take the next step, HP's workstations with Intel Core i5 processors are for you.